What would you do if you had 18 hours before the sky turned to fire? No sirens, no TV warnings, no rescue teams on the way. Just you, your family, and a city that doesn't yet realize it's already doomed. This isn't fiction. It's a day that really happened. August 24th, 79 AD. The day the Roman city of Pompeii vanished beneath ash and fire. Pompeii was alive with music, laughter, and trade, a place where the rich flaunted marble villas and the poor sold bread and wine in bustling markets. To live here was to believe you'd seen the height of civilization. No one knew the beautiful mountain that towered nearby was a loaded weapon. Today, we'll go step by step into Pompeii's last hours, what people saw, what they felt, and why so many didn't run, even when death was rushing toward them. Pompeii wasn't small. Around 20,000 people called it home. Wealthy Romans came here for vacation, enjoying hot baths, gambling, and feasts that lasted all night. Mount Vesuvius loomed in the distance. Its slopes were green, planted with vineyards. To the locals, it wasn't a threat. It was a blessing. Its soil grew the best grapes and olives in the region. But under that peaceful surface was one of the most dangerous volcanoes on Earth. It hadn't erupted for hundreds of years. No one living had ever seen it angry. Morning, August 24th. Pompeii awoke as usual. Bakers lit ovens for the day's bread. Farmers led donkeys through the streets. Traders shouted prices over the noise of carts on cobblestones. But beneath their feet, deep in the earth, magma surged upward. Rock cracked. Pressure built. At around 9 a.m., the first tremors came. Small vibrations shook cups and rattled shop doors. People looked around, then shrugged. This was earthquake country. A few years earlier, a big quake had damaged buildings, and they had rebuilt. Tremors didn't scare them. Just before noon, witnesses later recalled seeing something strange, a thin, dark ribbon of smoke curling from the top of Vesuvius. It rose higher and higher until it became a towering column that reached the clouds. People stepped out into the streets, shading their eyes. Some joked, the gods are cooking a feast. Others watched in uneasy silence. Pliny the Younger, a Roman historian who saw the eruption from miles away, described it as a cloud of unusual size and appearance, its shape like a pine tree, rising high, spreading into branches. At first, the ash fell lightly, soft gray flakes drifting from the sky. Children played in it like snow. Merchants swept it from their stalls, annoyed but unconcerned. They didn't know this was the first breath of a monster. By 2 p.m., the ashfall thickened. It clung to skin and clothes. Breathing became labored. The smell of sulfur drifted through the streets. The sun dimmed. An unnatural twilight fell over Pompeii. Shops closed early. Some people went indoors. Others moved toward the city gates, unsure whether to flee. But leaving wasn't simple. The roads were clogged with carts. Families argued about what to take. Most still believed the worst would pass. At 5 p.m., small stones, pumice, began to rain down. They bounced off roofs, cracked tiles, dented carts. The sound was constant, deafening. Imagine you're standing in your yard. The sky is black, and rocks are falling hard enough to break pottery. And still, your neighbors are telling you to stay, to wait, to ride it out. Would you listen, or would you run? By 5 p.m., the streets were layered in ash and pumice up to the knees. Every step was heavy. Doors jammed shut under the weight pressing against them. Inside, People tried to reinforce roofs with wooden beams. Others tied cloth over their mouths, coughing in the thick air. Night came early. By 8 p.m., it was as dark as midnight. Torches flickered in the wind, barely cutting through the gloom. The ash kept falling, now mixed with chunks of rock the size of fists. Some headed toward the harbor, thinking ships would carry them to safety. But the sea was wild, waves slamming into the docks. Many turned back, trapped between the mountain and the water. Around midnight, the eruption changed. The great column of ash and gas collapsed inward, sending a pyroclastic surge, a cloud of superheated gas and volcanic dust racing down the mountainside. It moved at over 100 miles per hour. There was no outrunning it. The first surge missed Pompeii, striking the nearby town of Herculaneum. People there died instantly, their bodies thrown to the ground by heat and force. Scientists believe the temperatures were over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 500 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill in less than a second. Pompeii still had hours left, but death was on its way. By 2 a.m., Pompeii was buried under meters of pumice. Buildings groaned under the weight. Roofs collapsed, crushing those inside. Some survivors tried one last escape, climbing over rubble toward the city gates, but the air was unbreathable, thick with dust and choking gases. At 6:30 a.m., the final surge hit. This one reached Pompeii. It tore through the streets, smashing doors, burning flesh, suffocating every living thing. Those outside collapsed where they stood. Those inside suffocated in seconds. There was no time to scream. By 8 a.m., the city was gone, silent. When the ash settled, Pompeii lay under 15 to 20 feet of volcanic debris. It was as if it had never existed. Over the centuries, grass grew over the ruins. The world forgot the city. It wasn't rediscovered until the 1700s, when workers digging a well struck strange walls. Archaeologists realized they'd found a Roman city, perfectly preserved under the ash. They found bread still in ovens, jars of wine sealed tight, and haunting shapes in the hardened ash, the spaces where bodies had once been. When plaster was poured in, human forms emerged, frozen in their last moments. A man shielding his wife, a mother clutching her child, a dog still chained to its post. On paper, Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, but the truth is, many had time to escape. The warning signs were there, the tremors, the smoke, the ash, the sulfur. People saw them. They simply chose not to believe. That's how most disasters work, not just volcanic eruptions, but the collapse of cities, empires, even entire civilizations. The signs are obvious in hindsight, but ignored in the moment. The question is, when the warnings come for us, will we recognize them? This was the Fall of Pompeii, a tragedy sealed in ash. But there are other collapses just as shocking, with lessons just as urgent. Subscribe and join me every Sunday as we uncover the rise and fall of history's greatest empires. And tell me, next week, should we journey to the streets of Constantinople or the temples of the Aztec Empire?